Welcome to GameRomp Easy Mode, a chill podcast about video game stuffs. We're your hosts, Deanna and...
David.
Hey.
So, Deanna.
Yes?
How's it been?
I guess it's been okay.
Good.
You? Should I go first then?
Well, I mean, it's been pretty fun game-wise. How many games have you played? Just Long Dark, or have you done other stuff?
No, I think it's basically just been the Long Dark.
Well...
And that was only the last 2 days, so...
Wow, I mean, I guess you've been busy with other stuff.
I'd like to think that.
I guess I'll start with one quick thing with Terranigma. I kept playing that a little bit, so I got past like the zombie zone, and then...
Wait, zombie zone?
Yeah.
Like last time you talked about you were in Lhasa or Tibet and you got the humans back. So I guess zombies are...
There was like some...
Is that part of them?
It was right after that where some little girl ran off to some like town in the desert, and then her like uncle or grandpa was like, "Oh no, go find her," and you find like this dark hidden village and you sleep there, and oh no, everyone's zombies.
That sounds like a bad time.
Well, it kind of was a bad time playing through there, but no, it was okay. It was a little annoying, but...
Why was it annoying?
There was this enemy that okay, there's lots of zombies. Most of them are fine. I mean, they're zombies. They're pretty resistant to attacks, but that's fine. But one of the zombies had an attack where, like, they would shoot their heads at you.
That sounds deadly for them.
Yeah. Like, most of the zombies, when you were fighting them, like, their heads would pop off, and it's whatever. But this one, like, little girl zombie, she would shoot her head at you. It would explode. And during that whole animation, she's, like, invulnerable to attack, which just makes them so tedious to fight. And you'd think, oh, she exploded her head. She's just going to walk around headless like the other zombies do. No, her head grows back.
What the fuck?
So, like, if you hit her again, she'll shoot her head at you again. And, like, during those, like, 4 or 5 seconds while she's doing that attack, she's just invulnerable.
That's weird. You'd think it would be the opposite.
So that was kind of tedious. But other than that, it was fine. Got past that, got up to France. And then there was like this section with the castle and the big old empty castle.
Does anything happen in France?
I'm still making my way through it. Like at some point I had to put everyone in the castle to sleep and then like loot the king's secret treasury. And I can use the item that I found in there to unlock this next zone. So that's basically where I am. It's not super interesting, to be honest with you. So I guess we'll see. There is a little bit like he recognized the character and was like, so maybe there will be some intrigue happening soon. But as far as story stuff goes, it's been pretty just...
mediocre.
Yeah, just like stick in there. Hopefully it gets better. I don't know. We'll see. So I played a little bit of that.
How many hours do you think you're into that so far?
I don't know. Last time I went to go try playing it, I had an issue with my emulator, so...
What happened?
Some audio issues with the HDMI cable, I think.
Oh.
I don't know. I'll have to look into that again. So I didn't play it as much as I would have normally, but... I don't know. Actually, I felt like I did play it for a pretty good amount, but I don't know. I'll keep playing it. It's whatever.
It'll be interesting to see, like, when you finally finish this game and then go and watch the, YouTube video essays of, like, people who seem to really enjoy this game.
Yeah.
It's like, why?
Yeah.
Just to understand, like, their perspective.
Yeah, definitely. Because, like, I mean, I've said before, I really like Soul Blazer and I really like Illusion of Gaia, but this one is just not hitting that same spot for me, so I don't know, we'll see. It's tough because like I also want to play other games, but I'm like I can't start playing another JRPG when I'm playing through this other one, so I gotta finish this one. So we'll see. I've been really having like the itch to play Ys 3, which I have on Steam. It's like a remake from the PS2 era, but I'm not gonna do that until I finish this. And actually, I might not even do that after, because Suikoden 2, or the Suikoden remasters are coming out soon, so I might get that.
How many games do you tend to juggle, or is it like you can play one game of a type at a time?
Yeah, I'm not going to play 2 RPGs at the same time. That's crazy.
Yeah, because they're usually like the most expensive...
time-consuming story stuff. Like, no, I don't want to do that. But with Suikoden 2, or sorry, the Suikoden remasters coming out, it's like I just want to play those with you. And I think what I'm going to do is just, we can skip Suikoden 1.
Is there a reason for that?
Suikoden 1 is good, don't get me wrong, but Suikoden 2 is the really, really, really good one.
And you don't have to know Suikoden.
Suikoden 1, no, it's Suikoden 1's a story of a different nation, and Suikoden 2 is a story of a different nation. So they have two different heroes set in two different nations.
Okay.
There is some crossover. In Suikoden 2, you will see some characters from Suikoden 1 come over, but you don't really need to know them too much at all, really. They're more like Easter eggs. Like, oh, it's this guy. What has he been up to? But it's not really... The story doesn't carry over necessarily. They're self-contained stories.
Okay, that's cool.
So, yes, if somebody played through Suikoden 1, they're going to have fun seeing, like, the returning characters. And two of the returning characters are pretty important. So, the way I see it, if anyone is interested in playing Suikoden and they're feeling a bit overwhelmed at the thought of playing 1 and then 2 to get the whole experience, just play 2. Just play 2. It's amazing. 2 is worth playing on its own.
And you're probably not going to miss much.
Yeah, play 2. Go into 2. Play it blind. Let the game wow you. Let it break your heart. Just experience 2 blind. And if you really loved it and want more, then play 1. And then after playing 1, you can play 2 again with a guide so you get all the characters and the best ending. Okay. I think that's probably the best way to do it. That's how I did it as a kid. Like, I played 2. I didn't know anything about 1. I loved it so much. I was like, I gotta have more. I ended up playing it again with a guide to get the best ending. And then it was like, okay, I want to play 1 so I can see what that is. But, like, 1 isn't as good as 2 for multiple reasons. Story-wise,
quality of life-wise,
the quality of, like, the animations and everything, 2 is just leagues better.
I mean, that makes sense. They learned, I guess, from the first one.
I'd rather people just play 2 rather than risk playing 1 and getting burnt out halfway and not experiencing 2.
Oh, interesting.
So play 2. You can skip 1. If you really love 2, which I think you will, then you can go back and play 1.
This is an order from David.
The stories are separate enough, and it'll be fun because then you'll see characters from 2 and you'll be like, oh, now I can go learn what happened in the past and see how they became a team or the stuff they got up to first. But still, like, you're gonna go into 1 knowing how much you loved 2, and then you can deal with some of the jank and, like, not jank, but it's just 1 isn't as polished as 2. 2 is an incredible experience that everyone should experience.
And what was the original platform that this came out on?
PS1.
Okay.
So yeah, with the remaster coming out soon, I think it's like $40. If you get it early, you can get it for like 25% off or something. So I'm going to try to do that.
Do you think that'd still be available when this episode goes live?
I don't know. I don't know. Check Fanatical. That's where the sale is. Fanatical? Is that what that site's called?
I think so.
You can buy Steam key. Usually, there's like Green Man Gaming and Fanatical. Those you can get really good deals on Steam keys when games are being pre-ordered.
And those are like vetted sources.
Yeah, those two are trusted. I've bought from them multiple times. They're good. So yeah, hopefully I can play through that with you, and it'll be good because they've been retranslated. So that's like one of the big reasons I want to play through it, because I already loved Suikoden 2 from like the PS1 era, but the translation was
a little off,
very rough, like very, very rough. So they've gone through and like retranslated it with modern localization, so it should be way better of an experience.
And that's gotta say something, since apparently it really captured you in the original form.
Yeah, even in the original, it was still the story was really good. Like, it just goes places where that kind of surprise you and have like, just the characters are so good and just everything about it. It's really hard for me to put into words how good Suikoden 2 is. Like, literally one of my favorite RPGs of all time.
Now, is it story that like just focuses on the characters themselves? Is it like a political intrigue, kind of like how Final Fantasy Tactics was?
There is some political intrigue, yeah, and that is a major part of the game. Like, what is going on with these nations, why are they doing what they're doing, how people resist or even try to change it from the inside.
Do you think that has any connotations with current?
No,
or
not
is it
really.
Just far enough out there where we can enjoy that kind of political intrigue without getting like overwhelmed?
It's an interesting question.
Vaguely similar to current stuff.
No, this is a game from the 90s, but I mean, I guess you could see a lot of old games and try to connect things to how things are now. Like a lot of people have been doing that with Metal Gear Solid 2, for example. Now there's a good discussion to have one day. The story of Metal Gear Solid 2 and how...
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid has always been about like American issues, I guess.
Well...
Or from a Japanese perspective.
Let's just say in Metal Gear Solid 2, one of the big things that they talk about is like memes and how people express themselves online and the dangers of unfettered communication on the internet. And this is like back in like 2000. This game came out in 2001?
This was years before social media shit.
Before it got too bad. But even back then, Kojima was like, what's going to happen when people start talking on the internet and just everyone's putting out their voices and all the misinformation and purposeful misinformation and like
disinformation.
Yeah. And like how that's going to affect society and like what are we doing about it? Should we do things about it? And like that is part of the story. And like one of the most famous lines in there is basically along the lines of like, you know what? Cancel that thought. There's a lot to say about Metal Gear Solid 2, and I don't want to stick my foot in my mouth when I'm talking about it, because especially today, like...
I mean, that's fair.
Whew.
So basically...
It's very interesting.
Basically, just go play Metal Gear Solid 2, specifically?
Yeah, I mean, man, Konami back then was so good. These are both Konami games. Metal Gear Solid, Suikoden 2. Suikoden 2 doesn't have... I mean, this is a story of, like... It's medieval-ish, I guess, right? It's a JRPG with fantasy. Like medieval fantasy settings. But it does have a little bit of political stuff because like it is a story about countries and how they're dealing with each other's aggressions and like political alliances and that kind of stuff. But it's also a story of the people that are in it and their struggles being tiny little cogs in these huge empires that some people just... they have no power, and then some people try to get power and all that stuff. It's really good. But most of all, it's about like the characters and like them dealing with what's happening to their family and to their friends and all that stuff. So you'll see. I hope you especially will enjoy it when I play it with you or we play it together. I
guess I'm just almost worried or curious, however you want to put it, of like how this is it gonna try and give me hope at the end of the game, or is it just gonna be depressing? But then again, I guess I shouldn't know, so that's fine.
There's multiple endings to this game.
Okay, well, that makes it a little bit more complicated then.
Yeah. I don't know if there is a canonical ending, and some people have even said that the happy ending is kind of
non-canonical,
unsatisfying in a way, because it's the happy ending is very... I don't want to say very anime, but like for lack of a better word, it can feel like, you know what? I don't even want to say anything. We'll experience it when we experience it. I'll probably show you. I'll probably aim to get the happy ending just because. But then
again, like if I'm playing it, I have to just see what happens. We could play it a second time, like you said earlier, with a guide and maybe get a better ending.
Yeah, I'll look into how hard it would be to get the bad ending, or one of the bad endings. They're not really bad endings, they're just...
different.
Yeah, there is one bad ending that's like midway through the game, but that's also not really a bad ending. It's just an ending. Oh man, I wish I could just...
It's hard to like try to figure out how you want to
explain without spoiling.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially to you. Like I want you to experience it. But yeah, there's one point in the middle of the game where you can trigger an ending that is that I could just talk about for another half hour. That one ending itself and like its implications. But if people who've played Suikoden 2 know that ending in the middle, I love that is even an option, and like what it says about people, and like maybe it is a bad ending, but maybe it's not in a way. Like
maybe we should keep this idea.
I'm just talking to myself at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, because like I'm trying not to think too much about it, because then maybe that counts as spoiling it for myself. I don't know.
It's just one of those things where it's like, it's a sad ending, but I can understand why somebody would go for it. But okay, enough of Suikoden. We'll play that eventually, because oh my god, Suikoden's amazing. I was talking about Terranigma and JRPGs, and yeah, that's enough talking about that. I guess you can talk about what you've been up to.
Yeah, so it's been pretty basic. The only thing I've played this week, like I said earlier, was The Long Dark. And I'm slowly getting through, I believe it's episode 3. So I've been playing as the lady, which I already forgot her name. I made it to the church that has all these survivors from a plane crash. And it's interesting because your character is a doctor, and originally she came up here to try and help someone else. There's very little of the story. It's like trying to give you story, and they show cutscenes and stuff, but they're also not giving you any information. It's like this woman calls up your character, and she's like, it's happening again, you have to help her, blah, 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 and all this stuff. But they're, like, being so secretive. So it's like they're showing you cutscenes but not giving you anything. It's kind of weird. So she's trying to also help these people that she came across while she suffered from her own plane crash. And you go to the plane crash, you're trying to find, like, diabetic medications for this one guy at the church before he croaks. You end up finding another survivor at the crash site. And you're trying to find survivors, and you have to keep them warm and hydrated. Those are like the only 2 afflictions that you have to worry about, even though when you come across this first survivor, it seems pretty clear that like her legs are broken, which is why you have to carry her back. But even though her legs are broken and you have things that could help her, like, you know, your character specifically says, oh, you've lost a lot of blood. Okay, you're a doctor. I currently have Band-Aids on me. I have antiseptic. I have, like, all these things. But when you go and diagnose her, it's just like, make sure she's warm and that she's hydrated, and then that's it. Which is kind of weird because, like, when you're taking care of your own character, you use those Band-Aids if you sprain an ankle. You take the painkillers if you have pain. If you have blood loss, you put on the antiseptic to make sure you don't get infected, and you put on the Band-Aid to stop the bleeding. So, like, those mechanics are already in the game. Why do I come across this survivor who's, I'm assuming, on the fucking brink of death, and yet, when you go to diagnose her, it's just like, no, she's fine. Her legs are broken. You have to carry her, but you don't have to stop bleeding, even though she's lost a ton of blood.
Maybe like, she's already stopped the bleeding?
I mean, I guess you could argue that, but, like, on the character model, it doesn't show that she's done anything. She was still underneath debris when you got to her. So it doesn't seem like she had fixed herself up. She's still, like, going in and out of consciousness, essentially. It's like, the mechanics are already in the game. It would be interesting if you actually had to do that first, and then, like, it's just make sure she's warm and hydrated, and that's it. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Do you have to, like, take her to a clinic to do all that stuff first, maybe?
No, you pick her up, and I took her back to the church, and you lay her down, and that's it.
Oh, okay.
It's really weird. And it was funny, too, because when I got to her, and I took care of her, and I made a fire, and it was kind of like getting towards nighttime, and I'm like, I can't drag her back to the church during the night. I'm not going to be able to see. It's going to get really cold. So I got enough firewood to set up a fire, and I had like 9 hours of fire to to get through. It's like, okay, great, this is perfect. I can sleep for 7 hours. That should get me through most of the night. And then I'll wake up and then I'll, drag her, whatever, back to the church, the community center. Mm. But as I slept through the night, it just decided, I guess, at some point to start a blizzard or something. So I wake up and the fire's basically out. I'm like, oh shit, I gotta reset this up and stuff. And I'm trying to hide her from the wind, obviously. But I can't go back through the other half of the plane that I came through to get to this crash site for whatever gameplay reasons, whatever. And it's also, the thing about this game is that if you were fighting for your life, surviving from a winter storm, or trying to get some sleep, all this stuff, there's very specific things you have to do in order to, you can't just fall asleep anywhere. You have to have, the bedroll. And I can understand that to a certain extent, and I understand it that, the game has to set up certain things. You can't just do everything in a game because they don't program it like that. But it's just, there's this, in the hull of the plane that crashed, there's this area where my character can crouch down and get in there, and I'm protected from the wind. But for gameplay reasons or mechanic reasons, I can't put the crash victim underneath in there to get her away from the wind. Mm-hmm. So I'm stuck just holding her and putting her on one side of the crashed plane to try and keep her from the wind. But the temperature is too low and she's losing body heat. And it's just kind of a pain in the ass. It's I want to be able to do this. Or another section where I was getting tired, but I was in a cave and I didn't have my bedroll, so I couldn't lay down. But if I was actually in that situation, I would just take all the extra clothes I had in my backpack that I was carrying around, put them on the fucking cave floor, and sleep on that. But you're not allowed to because, it's just, they can only program so many things. Does this make sense to you?
Yeah,
Am I just rambling?
To me, it seems like, we can't really expect the Long Dark to suddenly become a trauma surgeon.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying that I have to be able to cut into her and give her a fucking amputation. I'm just saying, I already have Band-Aids that I could give her and antiseptics and...
Yeah, I get what you mean. They could do a little bit more, but at the same time, I understand why they just want to try to keep the general mechanics of the survival stuff. Mm.
So anyways, we get through the storm, and then I go and figure out I can't go back out the way I came with her, so I have to find another way. And then as I go down the way that the game apparently wants me to with the survivor, then I come across a cave that we could have stayed in from the storm instead of almost freezing to death outside. I'm like, oh fucking hell.
Yeah.
Oh man, I wish I had known that before, but I didn't come in that way. It was at night. I didn't want to go too far, so I never saw it.
That's such a video game thing, though.
It's fuck
in
me.
any game, sometimes you'll be like, oh, I'm low on health. Do I use a heal, or am I a few steps away from a save point or a rest? I can't tell you how many times in an RPG where I'm like, oh god, should I use a high potion or waste my supplies and then use them, and then not even 2 steps later be like, oh freaking hell, there's a save point that restores my health right here anyways.
Yeah, it's
so that kind of thing.
Gotta be fucking... And I was thinking okay, if we don't survive this place and I have to just restart for whatever reason, now I know where the cave is.
Yeah.
But I managed to, once the storm passed over us, then it was actually pretty easy to get back to the community center. The only other thing is that carrying her, you can't sprint, obviously, and it's very slow, which makes complete sense. And I understand that, as a survivor, she's probably, going through some PTSD shit as I'm trying to carry her back home. But it's just the characters are saying all these random lines every couple of minutes, and it's taken me a half hour to get her back to the community center. And
are they repeating lines?
Sometimes, yeah.
Oh, I hate that kind of
And
thing.
it's just kind of unfortunate.
I really don't like that kind of thing.
But it's like, oh, well, you can turn off the voices. And like, yeah, technically, but at the same time, if you turn off the voices so you don't have to listen to your character say random shit all the time, if you come across a cutscene, the voices are attached to that. So it's like, it's like, I don't want to turn off the voices in case I come across a cutscene and then suddenly they're like on super low or nothing.
Yeah, there has to be, when games make voices and stuff like this, there has to be an option to
turn off random talk, but not turn off cutscenes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I get
or even like, even not just cutscenes, but like when you're talking to somebody like deliberately. But there's so many games where like a character will just mumble to themselves, and like Horizon Zero Dawn is an example of that, where like she's talking to herself all the time, and like I don't want to hear that, especially when it repeats. It's just like, I want to hear the cutscenes and like talking to NPCs. I don't want to hear her talking to herself all the time about like, oh, there's a bush that I can use, or oh, here's someplace that would be good to hide. Like, I don't need that stuff.
Yeah, like I guess they're doing it to like give hints to the player. But if I'm playing as a character, whether it's a character I've made after myself or it's a character that is not customizable, I'm still like thinking my own thoughts while playing them.
Yeah.
So I don't need their thoughts. Yeah. I totally get that. So like, if you're going to make a game and have random thoughts or something, you just have to make a way to separate those voice lines from cinematic or intentional voice lines.
Yeah, maybe like an option in the menu, if like open up your menu and think, or ponder or something. Like that could be like a way to offer a hint to players instead of just like throwing it at them when you're just, because some games, you'll get into a room where there's a puzzle and you're like trying to figure it out, and then like the character will say, oh, there's a lever over there. It's like, okay, I would have got there in a second. Jeez. I
heard that was a huge issue with the God of War game. Not that I ever played a God of War game.
I only played the old ones. But yeah, it's stuff like that where between that and like lines that repeat, it drives me nuts. I don't like repeating things either. It really rustles my jimmies. There's an old meme for you. So, let's see. Back to the Long Dark. So once you get that survivor and you like, as you're going through all the crash site stuff, you get a list of all the people that were on the plane, blah, yada, yada, yada. Go back. You return people's IDs of the corpses that you found at the crash site. And there's like 3 people you didn't find. And every time you talk to the person who you didn't find a corpse of their like spouse or brother or sister or what have you, they're like, oh, you gotta find them. Well, it's kind of silly, but at least when you go to find these 3 people out on the map, it tells you a basic general area of where they are. Somehow you know this information, even though it doesn't make any sense. So I think I've rescued... Do you have like a map of the area or something?
Yeah, you have a map of the area and it'll show like the general area where these people are, which, doesn't make sense. Because, okay, they left the crash site so you can imagine that they're not there, but this map is vaguely big. How would you even think of like where to search for these people?
I don't know.
It's just like whatever. So it's easy. You just go to the area and you can shoot off a flare gun, and if you're in the approximate area, the victim will throw up another flare gun so you can like more easily spot where they are. I didn't do that for the first victim, but the second victim, I actually had the flare gun on me, so I gave that a shot. And I think I'm still trying to make my way to get this... No, wait, I think I had just gotten the second victim back.
How many are there?
There's 1 left. So there's the first victim that you find at the plane. You take her back. And then there's 3 victims you have to find outside. And I think
So you got a long way to go.
I got 1 more victim to get.
All right, well...
So...
Well, I guess, are you having fun still? Or is it getting tedious?
It's getting a little tedious. I guess it just kind of sucks that, like, I'm the only person that can do this because, you know, the priest guy is technically taking care of them. And I also have to start getting a whole bunch of supplies for the people, which is like bandages and antiseptics and food and blah, blah, blah.
Did the game ever explain, now that you're controlling her, did she ever explain what happened after their crash? Like her crash with her ex-husband or whatever?
With Will, no, not really. I don't think it really, it's just like, she just really had to get this stuff to whoever she's delivering it to, and that's it. Like, she doesn't explain why she just fucking up and left him.
Yeah, that's the thing that always bugged me, and I figured, like, oh, maybe when the next episodes come out, we'll see, like, her side of the story. Like, maybe she fell down a ravine, or it was impossible to meet up with him anyways. At least give me something. And not just leaving me to assume that this, like, doctor lady saw her ex-husband, like, lying there unconscious and was like, ah, fuck it.
Yeah, I don't care about him. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But actually, it's funny that you bring that up because it seems like the same fucking thing has happened at this airplane crash site.
Everyone's just scattered without any warning.
Yeah, some survivors woke up and made it to the community center, right? Somehow they just decided to all meet up there, I guess, somehow. And I have to go back and find the corpses of maybe their loved ones that they were with. Like, they just got up and zombified their way over to the community center without checking whose corpses were at the crash site.
I don't know.
These other survivors got up and roamed away from their loved ones, and now I have to go out into the wilderness to find these people? It doesn't make any sense. Everyone's just fucking crashing in these airplane crashes and leaving their loved ones behind. On both sides. It's like, what the fuck? This doesn't make any sense.
Oh, well.
So, yeah, I guess it's not just her and Will that did this shit. It's other people doing the same dumbass thing. Like, oh, I crashed with my husband. I guess I'll just, like, fucking head out and go to some random house place. And then be like, oh, this random stranger has to go find my husband's corpse instead. Like, what the shit?
Yeah.
It's just...
No, I get you. Let's move on.
Yeah, okay. So that's my story of the last 2 days I played a game.
Yeah. Have you heard that the Steam Next Fest is on?
No, I don't tend to keep up with that stuff, I guess.
I don't know if it started yesterday or the day before, but yeah, there's a bunch of demos out now. I downloaded a few. I don't know if the demos I downloaded were technically part of the Steam Next Fest, but the first one I downloaded was Monster Train 2.
Oh yeah, you had talked about that.
Did I? Last time?
I think you had mentioned that you had been playing it. Or maybe I remember reading tweets or something.
Yeah, I think we discussed it privately, but anyway, yeah, I downloaded Monster Train 2, the demo, and it's more Monster Train. But this time you're playing as the Angels. So, okay, for those that don't know, and the story in this game, it doesn't matter, so don't worry about it. But in Monster Train 1, you're like these demon things, and like your main antagonists are the angels. And basically, like, hell is frozen over, and you're on this train to deliver like fire to the center of hell. So you control a bunch of different demons or monsters and stuff, and all the bad guys are the angels. And they're like a bunch of different versions of the angels, and they're basically like people, but like with blue skin and like different outfits and different looks to them.
Oh my god, they're the Na'vi.
Well, they're not that blue. They're kind of like a palish blue. It was really cool. Like, in the first one, I think you start with like these red demon guys, but then like the second clan is like these plant people things. So like wooden like ents, I guess you could say. And then like the third clan is like this mermaid, Cthulhu, octopussy, and shark type people stuff.
That sounds incompatible with hell, but...
They're just monsters.
Okay.
The first ones are like the most demonish, like hellish looking monsters with like the red horns and stuff. But then like, yeah, the other ones are just monsters, but like the angels are like always the bad guys. So you're like, it's a rogue. Like every time you start a new game, you pick two of the clans and that determines your deck. So imagine like if you're playing Magic the Gathering, like you have your like red and blue and green decks or whatever. So each time you're like, oh, you start with red and green, but then you unlock blue. So then you can play red and blue or green and blue, and then you unlock another one, and et cetera, et cetera.
Gotcha.
So it's like you're always making like these two pairs. And that's what makes it fun each time. Like, you know, the different combos, the different cards you start with, the different cards as you go, because you only start with a few like base cards, and as you're like moving your train down, you unlock new monsters, and it's not the same every time. It's like, you know, random. Like, so maybe this time you'll unlock the tree guy that's really good at having spikes and barbs, so he's defensive, or maybe you unlock the demon dude who like builds armor and like armors your dudes up, etc. Anyway, I really liked Monster Train 1, so when I downloaded Monster Train 2, and it's like, oh, you're playing as the angels this time. It's like, oh, well, that's really cool, because some of the angels look really cool.
So now you get the other side of the story.
But they have, like, new outfits this time. So it's like, oh, she doesn't look as cool as she used to in this game. Because, like, the main character you play in Monster Train 2 is actually one of the bosses from Monster Train 1. So it's like, oh, cool, I remember her, but she's not in her cool old outfit. Now she's, like, wearing this new thing, and it's like, whatever. Maybe there's a skin later you can get. It's like, I kind of wish we could just have the looks of the old angels. But anyway, I really liked the demo of Monster Train 2 so much that I played it like 4 times.
Damn.
Yeah. So
it's unusual, I would think, to get a demo that you can replay that many times.
Well, because it's again, it's one of those games where like it's a new game each time you play it. And you start with the angels, but then like their other clan that you play with are like these dragons.
Okay.
And each time you play through the campaign or your run, I guess, you can level up your main hero in different ways. So, for example, maybe you level up this dragon because, like, okay, you can play as the angel lady from the first game or this new character that's like this dragon. Mm-hmm. The dragon, for example, has a thing where like she causes a status effect that like makes it so that when you damage the enemy, they take extra damage.
Okay.
So you can like level up that, or you can level up this other specialty thing where like every time you use her ability, she like gives you like a golden egg or something, because the dragons like to hoard gold. So that's kind of like their gimmick. And some of the dragons, like, if you have this amount of gold or this amount of like golden eggs, like this dragon will be stronger, blah, 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 blah. So it's like, that's where your builds come in. Like every time you play, not only do you get like different cards to add to your deck, but like you can level up your hero in a different way.
Yeah.
And then like synergize off of that.
Like, I get that. I just mean like a demo that gives you 2 clans to choose from, and then each clan has all these different choices that you can make. It's surprising that, I guess you could say, the demo is that big enough. Like, I've played demos where it's a very specific, like, oh, you could only play as the angels and choose this route to go along.
I guess because like the thing with Monster Train is you always have to have 2.
Okay.
So yeah, you're always going to have those 2, and because you can level up your character. When you level them up, you get a choice of one or the other. So you can technically play through it like 4 times and have 4 different experiences, sort of.
And hopefully, like, the full game would have more clans, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Even the original, I think, had 5, and then they added a 6th one for DLC, I think. Something like that. Yeah, that's the right number. And I say that because, like, after I played Monster Train 2, the demo, I was like, I need more. This is so fun. I remember why I like this game. I had played it on Xbox Game Pass, so I didn't actually own it. But out of curiosity, I'm like, how much does this cost on Steam? And it turns out it was 90% off.
Oh, shit.
So I paid like $2.50 for Monster Train 1.
Sweet.
So now we own that, and, you know, you can play it whatever, and I've just been getting back into Monster Train 1, and I haven't played it in forever, so it's not like I don't remember everything. But yeah, I unlocked the 3rd clan, which is, like I said, the mermaid shark people one. They kind of specialize in spells, and their characters, like, they have the ability called, well, some of them have an ability called Incant, which means whenever you cast a spell on their floor, they, like, trigger an ability. one of them is like this big shark dude with a giant shield, and it's like whenever you cast a spell on his floor that he's on, he'll gain more armor. Or this other one that's like this shark lady who's like, oh, she'll just gain like +2 health, +2 attack. So you can see how like this class wants to be casting spells.
I mean, that's kind of how it works in Magic the Gathering as well.
Yeah, exactly.
The blue deck is known for using spells.
So like there's what little octopus dude that's like, oh, if he's on this, when you cast a spell on this floor, it just gains 10+ power. So you're like, your attack spell that might do like 8 will do like 18 instead.
Nice.
And there's like this one other thing that's like, oh, whenever you cast a spell, it applies a debuff to enemies, or spells on this floor cost 0 less. So like you can see how you would start like building the spell synergy with that, and then you have to think of the other clan because you're always playing like a dual deck. So for example, with
So you can't just play a blue deck.
No.
Oh.
So for example, the last game I played was with these little blue underwater dudes along with the red demons. And the red demons, they're mostly about like rage and fire spells and stuff like that.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But the fire spells kind of synergize okay with these guys that like casting spells anyways.
True.
And like armor spells. And it's like just getting everyone to synergize and like, ooh, this monster will go really good with this monster. Like this monster can stand in front and like tank, and this monster in the back is just going to be building armor for him. So he's going to be super tanky.
So synergizing is basically just another word for theory crafting almost? Would you say they're vaguely similar?
You would, yeah. When you're theory crafting for games, you are trying to get things that synergize.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Because I know you like that, so I guess this is also the same, scratching the same itch.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. So, like, when I'm playing, like, the green deck, for example, and it's like, oh, these wood guys, they like to heal, and some of them, like, whenever they get healed, they'll gain, like, armor or spikes. Thorns, I guess they call it. You know, like in any other game that has thorns, where, like, when they get hit, they deal damage back, for example.
Yeah, I mean, that even happens in Dicey Dungeon.
Yeah, that's a common status effect in many games. So it's like all of these clans will have their own synergies together, and then like figuring out how they can mix and match. And it's pretty well balanced that like you can make a deck with any of the colors together and you're still going to have a good time. And it's so fun. I don't know. I just really like it. So I've been playing the first one, and I'm pretty close to unlocking the next clan, which if I remember right is all about like, it has these little monsters that you can summon, and their purpose is just to be eaten.
Oh.
And they look like the little suit elements from Howl's Moving Castle.
The little
the little black
sprites.
thingies. Yeah.
No. That sounds both cute but terrible because their whole purpose is to be eaten. That makes me sad.
So yeah, I've been really enjoying Monster Train.
Well, that's good. I mean, you make it sound interesting. Now I'm kind of curious, but
you say that a lot.
I know.
But hey, it's on our Steam thing. If you ever want to break from that, and you could try Monster Train 1, or you could just get the demo for 2. I mean, whatever.
Yeah, I got the Long Dark to get through. I got Citizen Sleeper I should probably play.
Oh yeah, you didn't even play that this week, did you?
No. I'm bad with sticking with things. We know this already.
Oh well, games are supposed to be fun, and if you're not having fun, then what's the point? I feel that sometimes about Terranigma, but then at the same time, I'm like, I want to see what happens. It's got to get good at some point. I'm expecting, like, at some point, it's going to blow my mind, and then I'm going to be like, holy shit, I get it. But I haven't gotten to that point yet.
If it even exists.
Hopefully it does. Like, I hear so much good things about this, but, like, so far, it's been fine. But I wouldn't, like, even say it's a top-tier SNES game. Not yet. But we'll see. Hopefully at some point it will feel that way. I don't know. I guess that's... Oh, I did... Well, actually, I haven't played any of the other demos I downloaded because I've been playing Monster Train. So, never mind. But there was another one I downloaded about... It looks to be kind of like... Some people have called it like a Monster Hunter meets Breath of the Wild. I forget the name of it. We watched a Yahtzee video of it, too.
Okay. I'll take your word for it. I don't remember.
I'll have to... I don't have anything to say about it because I haven't played it yet, so I guess it doesn't matter. But I have downloaded other demos, and there's another one about, like, it's from the creator or one of the creators of the Persona series, but it's kind of like an anime XCOM.
I guess that could be okay.
We'll see. I've been noticing on this Steam Next Fest, and I don't know if it's just because like Steam saw you've been playing Monster Train, so you're gonna like all these games, but like it's recommending me so many of these like roguelike deck builders.
I mean, I guess that makes sense. I'm sure they
so
have an
many
algorithm.
Just on this Next Fest, like I think you get like 5 pages of recommendations with like 4 games each, and I swear like 75 to 90% of the recommendations I've been getting have just been like deck builders.
Well, you know,
and I'm
video
getting a
games
little
go through that thing of like, crafting games are really hot this year or something.
Yeah.
So everyone decides to make a crafting game.
I think I got a little overwhelmed. I'm like, it's too many. I have enough of these already. I'm playing one. I don't need more. But there are 2 that looked pretty good. Like, because I'm so overwhelmed by the choice, I have to get a little picky. So I'm like, well, this one actually looks nice, where some of these other ones just, they're not visually appealing, so
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't know if I'm going to try to play some of the other demos if I'll pull myself away from Terranigma and Monster Train. I feel like, it'd be fun to talk about some of the demos again, at least one episode of demo chat, but we'll see. No promises.
Yeah, I guess I'll have to take a quick look-see and see if there's anything that I would be interested in.
There was also a few Survivor games, like Vampire Survivors. And it's funny because the 2 that I got recommended were very perverted.
Oh no. Adult themed.
Yeah, and it's like no, I mean, I'm a pervert too, but like I don't really need my games to be that.
Yeah,
it's like one of them, I think one of them was called Humiliation Dungeon Survivor.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and like the description was, when these girls get beaten, they get humiliated or something, and it's just like,
oh god.
do I really need this in my survival games? Like, I don't know, man. It's kind of weird, but there's also like I don't know why it's giving me these. I swear I don't play these games on Steam, but like one of the ones...
I mean, I can confirm our Steam libraries are connected. We don't have any pervert games.
I will be interesting to see what Steam recommends for you when we go through your Steam Next Fest. Because, 90% of my things were just like, here's another roguelike card game. But it's like, I have enough of those. And some of these are kind of ugly. And then like the other 10%, one was like an RTS, which looks kind of interesting. One was like this action game. It kind of looked like a Dark Souls like, but I haven't downloaded it. And there was one by the creators of Danganronpa. Danganronpa. I forget what that freaking title's called.
Yeah.
But again, that one also kind of looked kind of to me. So I got a few recommendations that weren't just deck builders
or pervert games.
But I'm surprised that they threw out a few straight up, like one was literally a porn game.
Oh my god. I mean, I haven't gotten recommendations for that, but I have seen the porn games up on like trending now or whatever.
I was surprised as I'm sitting here like looking through these card builders. Oh god, this looks dumb, this looks boring.
Suddenly titties.
Suddenly like Futanari Quest or some shit. And it's like, okay. I don't know, man. And also it was Monster Girls, and I'm not into Monster Girls.
I mean, I'd rather see recommendations for Monster Girl sex games than... Aren't there, like, sex games with Hitler or something on Steam?
Jesus Christ, I don't know. I'm just saying,
it's like sex with Hitler and then sex with Hitler 2, and there's, like, all these sequels of it for some reason.
I just don't understand why, like, they're these... I guess some people are into Monster Girls. I'm not. I'm not into the... This is a green human with a weird-ass dragon tail kind of thing. I know I've ranted about that shit already, but, like, even for, like... for when...
I can understand harpies and things like that.
When Baldur's Gate came out, you remember when Baldur's Gate 3 was, like, out and some of the developers were like, we put in all these options to make crazy-looking people, and all you guys are making is humans. And it's like, I'm sorry, humans are, like, what are attractive. I don't want to make a
if
red
you're
person
vanilla.
with spikes on their heads and shit. Have you seen Avowed? The
don't
Avowed
think
character
so.
creator?
No.
I hope
Can you make furries?
I hope that they make a Monster Factory out of that one.
I'm sure they will at some point.
I don't know how crazy you can get with it, but like, I guess you have to be a fucked up looking mushroom person, basically.
Ooh, that's cool. Maybe I'll look at it just out of curiosity. I like monster people.
See, a lot of people do apparently, because like when I'm on like a social media and I see people like, here's my custom character, and he's red and he's got some purple sparkles on his face and like a million horns, and I'm here just like, I just want to create someone that is nice to look at. I don't want to look at them and be like,
you are very vanilla when it comes to species.
yeah, I am one of those people. It's like, I just want to play a human. Like in WoW, I will play other races because they're like, I don't know, their stories and I'm attached to their stories. But like generally when I'm playing an RPG, it's like, I just want to play a human.
They're so boring.
Especially when it's like, okay, when we play like Guild Wars, at least the cat people there are radically different.
Yeah.
But when you give me a game where it's
char.
like, you can play as 7 different species. It's humans, tall humans, green humans, but they're still sexy, regular humans, but they have cat ears.
But see, that's almost like...
that kind of shit I hate.
That's almost like what, if you will, female gamers have to go through. Like,
yeah.
Especially in WoW, that joke was made like, oh, you can play as an orc, and the males are like, brr, but the females are sexy. Oh, you can play Worgen now, but the female Worgen are sexy. And it's like, no,
Yeah.
maybe I want to play a fucking monster character. I don't want to play a sexy human with fur and call it a Tauren. Like, it just gets stupid, so
Yeah.
you have to understand the pain as well, I guess.
If you're going to make weird races in your game, look at what Mass Effect did and make them radically different. Sure, Mass Effect has also the blue alien that's just a sexy lady.
Yeah.
But at least they have other stuff that's like radically different. I don't want to play like,
They got the potato people and the elephant people that have to specify their emotions.
yeah. Anyway, I think I should stop myself from ranting about this dumb stuff. I don't even know why we got onto character creator stuff. Oh, because of Avowed. Yeah, you should look at the mushroom people in that. Maybe you'll like it. I'm pretty sure that you can hide that stuff, but like you still have to pick it.
What do you mean hide that stuff? Like their genitals or something?
No, like apparently when you play a character in Avowed, like they have something wrong with them. I don't know the story reason why, but like
Body horror?
basically, yeah. It is like you have to pick some body horror. Like this is part of your character. There must be a story reason to it, but I don't know.
I mean, Baldur's Gate 3 had that in the sense that like you have this cinematic of this thing going inside your eyeball.
Yeah, true.
That was fucking creepy.
But like in Baldur's Gate, you can also like lean into it and like try to go really ugly, illithid looking thing. But in this game, in Avowed, like yeah, you have to pick some mushroom stuff on your head. So
I do like mushrooms.
maybe you'll like it. I just see it and I'm just like, oh god, I don't want to look at that. I want my character to look normal, but I don't know. Maybe there's a story reason for it. So whatever. I shouldn't make comments on that.
Poor you.
But we should stop.
Okay. Well, I guess
I'm
that
pulling
means...
a cord on this one.
I guess that means we're good for this week. So
Yeah.
we'll see you next week, and we love you and thank you for listening. Bye.
Yeah. Thanks for dealing with us. Later.